What do you think, man?
Well, why aren't we grinding knives?
So I want to let you know some of the details around the most recent serious tool acquisition in my shop. Now, I'm not counting small tools which come and go, you know, but the tools that come just once every few years that really change your work paradigm. For me, the most recent happened about a year ago, and it's this 2x72. It's a Pheer Grinder. And I'm just anxious really to tell you about this tool. But first I want to show you what I'd been using before. So I got my blacksmithing tools in 2005. And I went probably 3 years without a 2x72 of any kind. And then, you know, that's no good for a blacksmith, especially if you want to make blades of any kind. And I wanted to make swords. I needed to make swords. So I traded into this. This is a shop-built 2x72. A fellow I know made that. It's his design. It's pretty cool. I mean, look at that. Look at that. You know, pretty good. That makes a big slack belt. Pretty handy, and boy was I glad to have it when it showed up. I spend a lot of time down on the contact wheel now, and the contact wheel has a big chunk out of it, which is going to exaggerate the shortcoming of this tool. So being shop built, put together with a stick welder and, you know, a hacksaw, and it vibrates like crazy. See that? That jittery thing? What that means is you cannot do a fine grind. You just can't, because you got that vibration. The first thing is, it's stout. The connections are proper. The bolts are hardened. The threads are locking. There's no frill here. I mean, the word, so can you use the word elegant about a 2x72? You can if you realize that elegant denotes not just attractive. This thing's moderately attractive, but it's everything I need and it's nothing I don't need. That makes elegant for me. It is very user-friendly. Slack. So the spring's a little cheesy. I mean, I don't like that zinc electroplate spring, but so what? I also don't really like that it's not really centered, that nothing holds it there, but it doesn't need to. I mean, he got it right. It doesn't need it. Tensioning. Look at that. I mean, now that's probably a fairly stock, fairly standard adjustable platen, but it's aluminum wheels. The bearings are smooth as can be. You can pick whether you go in the top receptacle or the bottom. I always go in the bottom. Don't know how you would improve that. Table, very simple, very effective. I'm going to do a little work to make a table that goes in another direction. SAE bolts, gotta love that. I mean, this may be no different than on any other grinder you might buy, but from my perspective, when it locks up nice. Throw the belt on. The tracking adjustment, simple. Let's hear it for simple. You bring that thing right where it goes. That's never going to break. There's no way it can break. A wide range of accessories. I only got a few. So let's talk about the contact wheel. There's nothing unique about this, except you know what? It tracks exactly. It's a very simple axle. Simple is good. And you can get them big. You can get them small. And he sells them very reasonably. These receivers. No, wait, this is the receiver. What am I going to call this? I don't know what I'm going to call that. Stinger, thank you. The Stinger is fairly standard, but how are you going to hurt it? If you hurt it, you buy or you build another one. But here's the tool that just makes me smile every time I put it in here. Pick your size. We're going to pick 1 inch. Look at that. I ordered and had them put on the 6-inch drive wheel, which creates just a really high-speed belt. 5,200 lineal feet, I think, is what it ends up reading at. But here's a note, a warning voice. When you put these little nosing tools on, when you put these little bitty shivs in here, you can't run the machine over about 25% of its capacity. So I try not to get over about 1,200 or 1,250 on the rim speed, because think of how fast that thing's spinning and what bearing could possibly withstand that for very long. So you turn your speed down and you can put these little inside radius makers. Think of a finger guard on the the inside of a bolster on a knife, or any number of things. You can get them down to a 1/2 inch. That's sweet. So it's a 2-horse motor, variable frequency drive, converts single phase 220, which I had run over here by an electrician friend of mine, to 3-phase, which makes it adjustable. You can order the option of being reversible. I didn't think I needed that. Lots of power. I can put that contact wheel on there, crank that thing up to full throttle, and just lean onto it, and it's a very aggressive grinder, and it's also controllable. Start, stop, faster, slower. But check how smooth this is. I'll get hung up. Start it. I've got it set at 1170 because I had that small diameter wheel in there. I want it faster. Away we go. So when you finally decide to spend the money, dish out what it's going to take to get a nice grinder like this. What you don't want to do is put it on a coffee table or something where the vibration you have paid to exclude shows up because of the platform you're mounting it to. It's got to be bolted down. It's got to be bolted on something whose inertia is going to help withstand, any vibration that might creep up. Which made me a little bit nervous about something that I intended to do from the first day that I began to think about another grinder. So this really sort of magnifies. That's a little too small. This sort of radically expands, if not the versatility, then at least the usability of this great machine. Specifically because when I'm grinding a profile, now I'm looking down on the work. So I've got to grind a few hammerheads here. If I'm going to grind a profile to match that radius, or that radius, this is so much better than this. And if I'm going to grind a sword blade, this is a pretty nifty action for wiping out, for changing direction on sanding marks, or for trying to reorient a center line. It's just really nice to be able to have that sort of an action. So this is not complicated, and it was a steel table, so I could do it fabricating rather than with wood, but I've seen guys on the internet who did it with wood. But it's massive enough that it still withstands a vibration. So give that some thought. There may be a way for you to arrange to make it ambidextrous. So just like with everything else, there's a wide range of prices for 2x72 grinders. On one end of the spectrum, you've got brands like Burking. They've been around a long time. The frame is entirely cast components. They've become kind of legendary among knife makers, and they're great machines. And boy, are they expensive. I mean, they will make you cough. They'll make you, actually, you won't be coughing. You'll be choking when you see how much those things cost. But they're a beautiful tool. And on the other end, you can buy a 2x72. At least you can put a 2x72 belt on it from Harbor Freight. And don't be surprised if it flies apart in your face. I mean, you darn sure better have some safety glasses on with that one, because it's going to be throwing chunks. So as I was doing my due diligence and trying to figure out which grinder to buy, my friend Brian Brown, he's an armorer here, showed me his Pheer Grinder. I was impressed, and he told me what he paid, and I was really impressed. And then I got on Jose's website, and I was continuing to be impressed. So my decision was that this grinder hits the sweet spot between solid quality and brilliant design and reasonable price. I think it is the best value 2x72 you can buy. Jose Navarro, salute. It's an excellent design. I'm not a knife maker per se, but I can tell that regardless of what I intended to do with this thing, it would be the right tool for the job. Well done.